For the best experience, put on headphones and write a comment where you are from and what time you are watching the video. Don't forget to subscribe. My brother Jake had always dreamed of being an actor. After graduating with an art degree, he was excited to pursue his passion. And when an audition came up for a kids' spooky show called Morgan's Mortuary, he jumped at the chance. Naturally, I agreed to drive him to the studio, being the younger brother and all. The building was brand new, with shiny windows and a polished exterior. When we arrived, a friendly director named Jerry welcomed us and gave Jake a tour. Everything seemed perfect, so I left Jake to his audition while I grabbed something to eat. An hour later, Jake was thrilled when I picked him up. He'd landed the lead role as Mr. Morgan, a mysterious caretaker of a morgue in the show. He was beaming with pride, but the catch: he didn't have a car, so he asked me to drive him to all the shoots. I agreed, as long as he promised to repay the gas money once his paycheck started rolling in. On the third day of shooting, things started to feel different. When I picked Jake up, he looked faded, his skin pale and almost gray. Concerned, I asked if he was feeling all right. He brushed it off, saying he was just tired and maybe coming down with a stomach bug. But the next day, it got worse. His eyes were bloodshot, his face paler than before, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Jake, you look terrible. You need to see a doctor," I insisted. But he waved me off. "I'm fine, it's just the flu. I can't miss today's shoot." I couldn't shake the terrible feeling in my gut, but Jake was determined to finish filming. When I dropped him off at the studio, I couldn't help but notice how run down the place looked. Nothing like the shiny, welcoming building we'd seen on the first day. But Jake was focused, gripping the tape in his hands, proud of his work. It was the pilot for Morgan's Mortuary, and he couldn't wait to show me. When we got back to my apartment, Jake insisted we watch the pilot right away. He was glowing with excitement, even though he looked like a shadow of himself. I hooked up the old VCR, and we sat down to watch. The show started without any intro music or theme, just a cut to Jake, dressed in a lab coat with wild hair. He introduced himself as Mr. Morgan, standing in a dark morgue, and pulled a book off a dusty shelf. For our first story tonight, he began, but was interrupted by a bat puppet. It was hideous. The thing looked like it had been thrown together with cheap materials, a gorilla mask with yellow ping-pong eyes. And the voice was Jake's, doing a subpar Transylvanian accent. But then another bat puppet flew in, this one much more realistic, and it spoke with Jerry's voice, only deeper, with a menacing tone that made my skin crawl. Its eyes were completely black, lifeless, and its greasy, matted fur looked unsettlingly real. Suddenly, Jake let out a loud, wheezing breath beside me. I panicked. "That's it. We're going to the hospital now." Jake didn't argue this time. I sped to the hospital, nearly breaking every traffic law along the way. Jake was barely holding on, his face pale as a sheet. When we got there, the doctors took him in immediately. While they examined him, I went home, shaken. The absurd tape was still playing, filling my apartment with static. I felt nauseous just looking at it. Something wasn't right. My gut told me this whole situation was connected to that strange studio. Driven by rage, I decided to confront Jerry. But when I arrived at the studio lot, I was met with a chilling surprise. The once pristine building now looked decrepit, its windows shattered, and the paint peeling away. The place was abandoned. Just as I was about to leave, a loud scream echoed through the empty lot. Fear washed over me, and I bolted. Back at my apartment, I couldn't shake the feeling that the tape held some kind of answer. Hesitating, I put it back into the VCR. This time, there was only static. I felt a sense of dread settle over me, but nothing could have prepared me for the phone alert that came later that night. It was the hospital. Jake was gone. The nurse on the other end of the line said something I'll never forget. His condition was almost beyond explanation. We couldn't find any blood. I hung up, my hands shaking. My brother had been healthy just days ago, but now he was gone, and all I had left was that cursed tape and the memory of the eerie, lifeless studio. Something unnatural had taken him, something tied to that place. I just didn't know how to stop it.